LIEnette must know she's in court trouble again because she just posted on her Otter Creek page, "Standing in my trash." This group has nothing to do with anyone else, obviously referring to me, but positive, upbeat life lessons and things to do with God and following His word and walking in faith. Well, this is going to be pretty easy to debunk because she said this to Judge Craig DeThomasis.
I don't post nothing on my little tiny brand new page. All I do is say, I do not take meth. I do not let people live on my property.
I've got some court documents here. As a matter of fact, this is from her over 380 pages submitted of supplemental information to Craig DeThomasis in the Levy County Courthouse. And we're going to dig through it because, man alive, this is filled with such messes for her. Understanding that I've given all of that to the child's biological aunts who are filing for custody from LIEnette as well. But let's break down this little screenshot, okay? So first of all, LIEnette states this group has nothing to do with anyone else. All right, so let's stop right there. That is communication in regards to me. Now, not only does this page have everything to do about me, we have every screenshot, everything ever posted. And then what she does is dirty deletes. Remember what she told the Ohio judge? You can look at my phone right now. And what did the Ohio judge say? I don't care what's on the page right now. I care what was on the page. And we have every single screenshot from every other horrific individual, such as Marli Hughes, who continues to communicate third party on behalf of LIEnette and Crook. How dumb can you be? And I even call them out on it. And she still does it. Hey, you know what? That's their prerogative. If they want to make things easier for me in court, how about it? All right, then she goes on to say, it's nothing but positive, upbeat life lessons and things to do with God and following His word and walking in faith. Now, as an individual who has a degree from seminary, and as an individual who did his undergraduate at a Bible college, I can share with you, LIEnette knows nothing about following God or His word. As a matter of fact, half the things she puts on there in regards to Bible verses or references have no meaning in the context of what she means them to mean anyway. And then the other half is all based in New Ageism. It's all based in cultism, such as manifesting. That has nothing to do with God's word. That is based out of the occult. Now, many people use that word and they throw it around because they don't know where its actual history and basis and foundation is. So she's this conglomerate of a mess of not even knowing what it is that she's posting. And here's the funniest part. She wants to highlight Bible verses, okay? Bible verses of all things. This is not what this woman is about. This woman is about horrific things, as I know you know, and I know, and she's said and done horrific things, as I know you know, and I know, and she wants to keep quoting Romans chapter 9, verse 1. Now, before we get into this, well, you know what? Let me share what it says, I speak the truth in Christ. I'm not lying. My conscience confirms it in the Holy Spirit. Okay. Now, understanding that she's trying to claim that she's not a pathological habitual liar by using God's word, which has nothing to do with the context of what her life is. This is the Apostle Paul writing to the Romans, to the church, stating that he's telling them the truth about God's word. It is Paul saying, it is Paul declaring that I speak the truth in God, meaning that God was indwelling in him and giving him the words to speak, which God does not do those things any longer now that we have the Holy Spirit. Now that's a whole nother conversation. And I realize there's going to be those who agree with me, there's going to be those who disagree with me, and there are going to be those that go, I don't want to have a religion lesson. Don't worry, this isn't a religion lesson or a theology lesson. So what it is a court lesson. Don't be dumb. That's probably the biggest lesson that you can get out of this. Okay, so out of her petition, okay, we're going to go through a lot of this because I have yet to do that. And you want to know what the biological child's aunts knows, right? And what their lawyers know, and what the planet is going to know. Keep in mind, she gave this to the judge. Judge DeThomas has this in his hands. This is a direct copy of this, as I have everything that she submitted as well. Within this almost 400 pages, not only is it a whole bunch of garbage, but it's incriminating. And this is one of the most incriminating pages. Not only that, it's redundant. There are some things in this packet that are repeated none less than 4 times that have nothing to do with any type of case. So let's go ahead. We will go through it together. You're gonna, just hold on. This is interesting, okay? It says, I am LIEnette. Wait, hold a second. I am LIEnette Preston. Oh, well, there's our first debunk in the very first line. Her name is not Michelle. Her name is not Alexis. Her name is not any of the other 39 plus aliases that she used. Her legal name is LIEnette. Okay, you may pronounce it Lynette. I pronounce it with a little bit of a northern accent, along with other words like Dow. And it says, I am LIEnette Preston at her address in Otter Creek, Florida. Oh, and how'd she get to Otter Creek, Florida? How'd she even learn about Otter Creek, Florida? Oh, that's right. She claims she was watching this beautiful piece of property. First of all, she wasn't watching it because it wasn't on any MLS sheets whatsoever. It was never listed up for sales. It was only passed through tax liens, and she doesn't know anything about tax liens. And we already have all the proof for court in regards to debunking that lie anyway. And let's face it, it was never beautiful. It's literally a dumping ground. The exact same thing that these individuals in Otter Creek did to my property. These crackheads, these methed up individuals are dumping all over people's property, claiming that they're entitled to it because they've lived there their whole life. They used to hunt there. They used to go there. Doesn't matter. If you don't own it, stay off of it. Period. End of story. That's it. And that includes your garbage. So it was neither for sale nor was it beautiful. And she goes on with 3 giant paragraphs, okay? Let's break them down. She says, my problem with Jeremy Hales and George Hales, which is funny because there we go debunking again. George's last name is not Hales, and yet here it is in an official court document, okay? So my problem with Jeremy and George Hales started around voting time here in Otter Creek. Well, let's go ahead. We'll debunk that sentence right there. Her problem with what the Hales happened when she stalked them to Otter Creek and has absolutely nothing to do with voting at all in any way, shape, or form. Now, the Hales have come to Otter Creek in 2021, and so did we. They stayed at the... Whoa, hold a second. So first of all, the dates are wrong. Many viewers understand that we actually came to Otter Creek in 2020. And as we were finishing and finalizing the purchase of the 70-acre ranch, we stayed at Shady Oaks Campground, which was owned by Madam Mayor and her husband, Brett. So LIEnette goes on to say the Hales had come to Otter Creek in 2021, and so did we. They stayed at Shady Oaks Campground and then moved to their property. And then we, John Crook, and I, my 3-year-old little girl, moved to the campground until we could move into our property. Now, I hope you grasp this. Number one, even though her dates are wrong, she's proving she stalked us to Otter Creek. Now, did they come in 2021? Yes, they did, after they saw that we were there in 2020 and the beginning of 2021. And then they came, and then they even stalked our every movement, such as staying at the campground. How crazy do you have to be? Number one, to put this stuff in a court document, proving that you are a stalker. And all of this is going to be in federal court. All of this is going to be in family court. All of this is in the county court. This is insane. And so she proves that she stalks us to Otter Creek. She actually mimics and mocks our every movement. And she goes on to say, I had thought I was becoming friends with Madam Mayor, but now I know I was wrong. Now, let's pause right there. This is the same woman who has posted for years, God didn't make her to have friends. She can't keep any friends. She doesn't have any friends. This is the same woman that in text messages that we'll use in court, that she wants to go back home out of Otter Creek because nobody likes her and nobody wants her here. And yet, there's also those posts stating that 98% of the residents of Otter Creek love her and John. And yet, none of them are giving towards her legal fees. None. Not one. Not one. All right, let's keep going on. And she goes, Brett, Madam Mayor's husband, made passes at me when we first got there, as he does all the women that stay at the campgrounds. So I stayed away from him if I could, and I let John deal with him. Let's break that sentence down, which is a run-on sentence in the first place. So, number one, I seriously doubt anybody hits on LIEnette. Well, one person, Paul Hembroyd. And as a matter of fact, he wrote a character message to the judge. And the funniest part is he says at the bottom, due to Mr. Hale's propensity to file FOIA requests and turn the information over to his cult-like followers, my information will be limited to my email address. Well, we're going to get to all of his information. All right. So an individual who has never met LIEnette before in his life, and still to this day who has never met LIEnette in his life, writes a letter of reference to a court, which the court immediately kicks out and says this is garbage, both in Ohio and in Florida. And the funniest part, after all this, Paul is online stating that it's all a lie and LIEnette and Crook are actually employed by me. They're actors. I wonder how far that character reference letter is going to go with all the screenshots. Probably not too far. So let's emphasize, there is nobody gullible enough or, desperate enough to hit on LIEnette, except for John Crook. Yeah, when you're a crook, you got to hide behind the LIEnette. All right, what else does it say? It says, I had told Madam Mayor some things about my relationship with John Crook, who is my ex-husband. And I shared with her that he did some things that really bothered me, as he's very verbally abusive. All right. So here we have the first instances of abuse. All right. We'll call it buses. He's verbally buses and emotionally buses. And since I was a survivor of actual buses by a stepfather, that I had rules for John Crook when around my child, who I adopted alone. Remember when Crook said that's his daughter? Alone. I adopted alone. So in other words, LIEnette is stating Crook has absolutely nothing to do with parenting or care of this child because it's all about LIEnette. Oh, don't worry. This is all in the hands of the legal family, the biological family. And I told her, when I told him to follow them, he would belittle me. He would make snide remarks to me about it. And I had shared the rules with Madam Mayor, and later she shared them with the Hales. But the two couples changed those rules into very false lies and allegations to CPS of Levy County, which I will explain now. Yeah, she literally spends a paragraph incriminating herself and Crook. And we're going to get there. But before we do, we've got to address some things. This is a woman who is filing for an injunction, stating that I am bussing her, right? Stating that I am the villain, that I am putting her at risk. Her safety is compromised. And yet, in a legal document given to a court, given to the judge, she states who the actual busser is. John Crook. To the point is she's going to outline rules that she has for him in her life. How many times did she run to the courthouse to be denied for an injunction for John Crook? You're probably right. None. But this paper is littered with the aspects that he's busing her in all these different ways, and the child in all these different ways. And yet, nobody called the Levy County Sheriff, which LIEnette calls constantly, even when her own dogs and animals are on my property because they can't care for them properly. She calls the Levy County Sheriff. Interesting. And yet never called once on Crook. That's concerning, don't you think? What do you think federal court judge is going to think about that? Okay. And never filed for an injunction, but she filed how many times? 4 that I know of, and got denied based on no evidence in Florida. And there's still no evidence. It wasn't until she lied to Judge Craig DeThomas with a supplemental filing, which thankfully we got all of her handwriting, all of her signature, and now we can find her and prosecute her as guilty for defamation for writing the signs that she did about me. It wasn't until she lied and stated that Mark Feather, my co-counsel, who in 15 minutes apparently bribed her, according to her, which I know is a pathological lie. You know is a pathological lie. She knows is a pathological lie. So let's see what we have here. LIEnette goes on to say, I had told Madam Mayor that a lady from our old town, this is not a joke, this is all in writing, okay? This is all in writing. It's insanity. It is crazy to the 10th degree. I had told Madam Mayor that a lady from our old town sent John Crook a letter, and I got it, not him. Okay, so now we have mail fraud. Remember, LIEnette already stated that she's alone. She's literally raising this child alone, adopted this child alone. She's a single parent, and now she's stealing John Crook's mail. That's mail fraud. That's not okay. And she opened it. That's fraud. That's felony. That's not okay. And it's all in writing, and it's all public information. Can these people get any dumber? The answer is yes. I mean, I literally state that video after video after video. And what do? They just feed me more dumb things. Okay, well, let's have a meal. All right. She goes on, I got it, not him. I read it, as we are allowed to open each other's mail. No, you're not. It's a felony. And when I say you are not, I mean the world, the planet. I'm not referring to LIEnette. I'm referring to the camera and anybody viewing on the other side of the camera. I'm not allowed to open George's mail. George isn't allowed to open my mail. It's a felony. Okay? And it was a letter begging him for pain pills. This is what it says. Completely and totally. It's a letter begging him for pain pills if he was still on them. She had even sent him money, which I very quickly sent back, returned to sender, and wrote on it she better never try that again, as she was putting my child at risk, my home, and my life. Okay, so now she's afraid of me, stating her life is at risk because of me and George. And she's already told the judge that Crook is a busser. And now a lady writes a letter that she illegally opens, illegally reads, and then sends back. And now this woman is putting her life in danger as well. How is it that every single person puts LIEnette's life in danger? And yet somehow, just like her mom, my mom didn't die. She didn't die yet, even though she claimed to at 23. But hey, she's still kicking. Still kicking. Looks like the Crypt Keeper. Looks like Gollum. Still, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's the ring. The one ring is giving her extended long life, just like Gollum. We might be onto something here. Okay. And then she goes on to say, this is insanity. And then the Grangers, Madam Mayor, Brett, changed that truth. She literally just typed what it was. She was involved in a felony, and Crook is a rug dealer and selling pills. But let's keep going. The Grangers changed that truth to, I said John was selling his pills for money to pay for bills. Oh, well, it just so happens we have screenshots of the text, the literal text that LIEnette said it in. And we've already done a whole video on that. So here, LIEnette, in a court document, is debunked again, lied again, and will be found guilty for perjury. Oh, but wait, she's the one that wants to keep saying, Jeremy's perjury. He's got a false civil protection. It's fraudulent. How does she even know multiple syllable words is what I can't understand, like fraudulent. Except, wait, maybe that's one of her other names. Maybe her real name is LIEnette Fraudulent Preston. By the way, her legal name isn't even Preston. It flip-flops on everything. All right, so she says the Grangers changed the truth, that John was selling his pills for money to pay the bills. That is the truth. That's the text messages. We have the screenshots. Yeah, all the screenshots. You know what the nice thing about being successfully fun employed is? You can do whatever you want, including sift through and sort screenshots. As you live in your peaceful, serene, non-Otter Creek, beautiful piece of property. Because frankly, let's face it, God blesses those who bless him and others. Now, that's not a guarantee, and I'm not talking about health and wealth gospel. Some of you know what I just referenced to, and some of you don't. It doesn't matter. The reality is this. God has blessed me more than I've ever deserved. And I appreciate the way that he blesses me, and I want to continue to be a blessing to others. I want to be a blessing to my neighbors. I want to be a blessing to my community. I want to be a blessing to the organization and the people that I believe in. And that is not LIEnette and Crook. None of them. Even though you could go, well, they're in your community and they're your neighbors. No. They're stalkers. Big difference. And she goes on to say, I also shared with her that as a survivor of actual buses, I don't allow John to have no shirt on while playing with my daughter. No, it doesn't say his daughter. It says my daughter. LIEnette literally put in writing, my daughter. Remember, she's doing this all alone. Has nothing to do with Crook. And yet Crook in Ohio court said, my daughter? LIEnette disagrees. Debunked yet again. So I don't allow him to kiss her on the mouth. Well, with meth mouth like that, who in the world would kiss that? Can you imagine the stench, the filth, the vileness of the rotten, putrid that comes from that mouth? And I'm not just talking about the words. I'm literally talking about the stench. Like, that guy loves backsides. His mouth probably smells like that's all he eats is backsides. Might be turtle backsides for all we know. I mean, he might be into licking starfish. Who knows? No, I didn't mess up and mean starburst. I meant a starfish. Okay, while playing with my daughter, and I don't allow him to kiss her on the mouth, or I get mad if his shorts ride up and he doesn't wear underwear. Oh, okay. All right, the grotesqueness had me at the mouth and kissing already, but now the fact of him not wearing underwear... Oh, don't get me wrong, I don't either, but that's a personal preference. It's boxers. It's like shorts, right? Yeah, I don't do the tighty-whitey thing. I may be a middle-aged man balding with a dad bod, but the tighty-whitey thing ain't for me. And it's insanity to even want the picture. I can't get it out of my head between the mouth and the no underwear. Oh. I may vomit. Just to make sure, is there a bucket? I do have some boxes and crates back here. Okay, I do not allow her to straddle him for any reason. Who writes this garbage in a public document, in a court, to a judge? Who in their right mind would ever think any of this is okay to put in writing? It's self-incriminating. It's in a court with a judge. What's Judge Thomas done about this so far? That's right. Nothing. What's a federal court going to do about this? Something huge. What's family court going to do about this? As the child is, frankly, in my opinion, needs to be saved. You better believe going to do something. And yes, the aunts have all of this. Just so everybody is aware, we've been giving the aunts every screenshot, every document. They will have everything, and they do have everything. And frankly, as I'm even sharing that with you, many of you, there are a handful, there are some of you that are working with the aunts, working with the FBI, working with other agencies as well to protect this child. Now, I give reference to that to say thank you, but I'm not going to dig any deeper. And I know some of you are right now going, FBI? Does that have anything to do with the unhelmeted individual that was at town hall on a motorcycle? Let's keep going. All these things were told to the Hales from the Grangers and turned into something John did to my baby girl. Again, it's her baby girl. It has nothing to do with John. And now the baby girl is a victim from John, according to her document right here that she gave to the court and to the judge. I will admit, here we go. Oh, we're finally going to get some truth. Huh, interesting. I will admit, John does not like women much. Well, duh. We figured that out as much as he's always talking about my butthole. Man, he can't stay away from that thing. All he does is think about it, visualize it. You think he's manifesting it. Well, it's part of the occult. He ain't getting anywhere near there. That's exit only. And it has nothing to do with Crook. That's why, I mean, let's face it, that's why I had to get a 500-foot restraining order. Crook be trying to get, you know, the back door. And there ain't no key for that. All right, and I will admit, John does not like women much. Yeah, well, the planet has figured that out. We all know which way Crook leans. And he's verbally abusive to me. He makes fun of me when I tell him I don't like those things at all regarding my child. And Madam Mayor was the only one I ever shared that with about any of it, because we had prayed for each other and I thought we were friends. All right, so let's break this down a little bit. Number one, Madam Mayor never shared anything with us. Anything. Except now she shared everything with us, including screenshots, which prove what has been said. Okay? So, yes, we do have screenshots from Madam Mayor, from LIEnette, and we've shared some of those on the channel. And all of those will be in the courts. And Madam Mayor will be a witness. Woo! And you know what, I was just thinking about Crook again with his mouth and no underwear, and I was regurgitating a little bit, so bear with me. Ah! Oh, it hurts. It literally hurts taking it back down. It burns. That's rough. That is really rough. And so, we do have information now, but nobody ever shared that with us until afterwards. We already knew about it because she posts this garbage all over Facebook. But wait, hold a second. Remember what she said on Facebook? Just hours ago. Hours ago, she said, oh, yes, that's right. Oh, this group has nothing to do with anyone else. It's only positive things about God and His Word. Yeah, well, it had a lot to do with Crook. And it became the only theme was what the Hales and how much they hate. All right, and so the fact that she would say that Brett Granger would hit on her, but she never told Crook, Crook was okay with this, but now she's telling Grangers that Crook is doing these inappropriate things with the child. She never told the police this? She didn't call the law? Do you understand where all the holes in this story are? I mean, it's complete and total freaking insanity. Like, I can't imagine how rotten, how destroyed a mind must be to even think to put something like this in front of a judge, which is so incriminating. It's ridiculous. There's one more paragraph. Oh, there's more. There's more. And she goes on to say, Brett Granger asked me on voting day. Oh, okay, now we're getting to voting day. Brett Granger asked me on voting day why I had my child in a dog crate, which she did, which is disgusting. which makes me need another drink. I really need it. She did. And with the heat indexed, it was almost or over 100 degrees. Now, I hope you understand heat index is not actual temperature. Heat index is what it feels like with humidity. And it was horrific to even think about doing this with a child on the side of a public road. Makes no sense. Yeah, and there's pictures. And yeah, there's video. And yeah, she's trying to dirty delete everything. But no, all the lawyers have it. And the courts will have it, including family courts for custody of the child. Brett Granger asked me on voting day why I had my child in a dog crate. And LIEnette goes on to say, "Sir, it was a $300 playpen while I greeted voters at our town hall." Okay, well, first of all, no voters wanted to see her in the first place, okay? And they obviously didn't vote her in because they saw all the insanity she posted on a daily basis online on Facebook in these stupid groups. Hate groups. And remember, all the groups were hate groups for Russ, Stewart, Attorney Worm, and Mary Mary. She wanted Mary Mary fired. Yeah, all of it was that, which then translated into she didn't get any money from me. I didn't let her come to What the Hale's Half Meal Time to Grill and ask people for money. And then it became pure hate from them to me and George. So then it goes on to say, I and his wife, Therese, oh, for once it doesn't say trees, stranger, go figure, with Carlos Carlode, right? All right. And we're running for one of the 4 seats on the Otter Creek board. That day, he threatened me by saying my friendship with the past mayor, Laura Mott. We all know I'm not for Mott, but I sure am hoping that she proves me wrong, and I will publicly apologize, and I will eat crow, and I hope she actually does something positive for the people of Otter Creek. But I didn't even know LIEnette even had a friend, let alone Laura Mott. Would do nothing but bring me trouble. Days prior, he and his wife were going to bring me a trailer because John Crook almost died. I'm not joking. Here we go again. Almost died. Okay? Now, this is truth. This is very true, and this is the insanity of all of this. Madam Mayor and her husband were at Bible study at the local church, and LIEnette, as usual, calls them hysterical. Crook is dying. And it is Madam Mayor that picks him up out of his own urine and filth. He urinates all over her, and then they save his life. They literally do. All right? They save his life. They literally do. And then they turn on them immediately. How do you turn on somebody who saved your life? Man, I will never comprehend or understand the mind messed up with Ruggs. But that's exactly what these two have done. And it goes on to say, it says, days prior, he and his wife were bringing me a trailer because Crook almost died on Valentine's Day or the 15th. I don't remember. I was in the hospital, and they'd come to help me get him up. But the ambulance ended up having to be called. Yeah, it was them who called the ambulance. And why didn't LIEnette call the ambulance? Because you had to hide all the rugs first? And they had let me know my property was dirty. It needed cleaned. Basically threatening me with CPS. Oh, here we go. By the way, with all of the screenshots and all the posts, her own children have threatened her with CPS. Then it's Brett and Therese have threatened her with CPS. Then it's the neighbors have threatened her with CPS. Then it's all CPS is based on Jeremy. Then. So right now, every CPS visit is based on, she blames it all on me. Every single person in this woman's life calls CPS because the child is in danger. Insanity. Last I heard, 18 visits from CPS, and the FBI is getting involved now because CPS has done nothing. But we're going to stay focused on this. The FBI story will be coming later. All right. They let me know my property was dirted. They were threatening me with CPS, which, by the way, I don't believe they ever threatened to call CPS. They said they would get a neighbor's trailer, Vice Mayor Zim's trailer, for 3 days, the next day or so I could use it 3 days. But they ended up chewing me out, so I made a post to the owner publicly on Facebook. Since it was Valentine's week, I never changed the background. Well, that made Brett mad, thinking I was making a pass at the neighbor, Vice Mayor Zim. All right, now, I know you need some context to this. The insanity of this run-on is ridiculous. Brett and Therese, Madam Mayor, actually wanted to help them, even though LIEnette was verbally constantly attacking them online and on Facebook. They still came and saved John. They still came and said, we will help. Vice Mayor Zim said, you can use my dump trailer. Brett and Therese show up with the dump trailer, previously scheduled with LIEnette, while Crook is in the hospital, and LIEnette is supposed to work with them and fill up the dump trailer with all the garbage so that the property is actually presentable and clean. And they show up, and guess who isn't there to do the work? LIEnette. LIEnette wants them to do all the work. Nobody is responsible for the work except for LIEnette. Remember, it's her beautiful property. It's her daughter. It's her doing it all alone. And yet these residents come forward and say, yeah, we'll help. And she doesn't show up and takes no responsibility. And she tells them, just drop the trailer there. They go, we're not going to work on any of this unless you're here and you're giving us guidance and you're telling us what to do and you're actually being a part of it. This isn't an entitlement of we come and do all your work, the mess cleanup that you made. And what she does is says, just take it. They never chewed her out. She was irresponsible. She was a foolish individual thinking she's entitled to their volunteerism, entitled to other people's equipment, such as my tractor, entitled to anything she wants for free as she gets it from the government or claims victim and people hand it over. Which, by the way, let's make it very clear. She's never received so many donations in all of her life until I've publicized this on YouTube as the news. She's doing pretty good to be claiming to a judge that I've destroyed her rescue when she's gotten more money. This past year, she has received more money than all years combined in all of her life. That's pretty impressive. You think she likes the exposure? Well, apparently, according to this, she doesn't like it when John's exposed. But who would? All right. And so they made a post. Oh, by the way, the post. I should explain the post. So LIEnette then makes a post in her stupid Otter Creek pages, which is nothing but hate, and makes a post. Zim, contact me. And it has all hearts, in the background, like a fool. And because she now wants to sidestep Brett and Therese, as if Zim is going to sidestep Brett and Therese. These are actually individuals who care about people, and LIEnette is taking advantage of everybody and thinks she's entitled to everything from them, including me and any money she thinks I might have, which I've been very clear. I have nothing. I literally have nothing, yet God has blessed me with everything that I need, and frankly, even some things that I want. So I made a post to the owner publicly on Facebook. She made a lot of posts publicly on Facebook and continues to do, and we have screenshots of it all, and so do other fools, which incriminate her and Crook even further, and we have screenshots of it all. I mean, I could sit there and threaten and say, if you don't stop, this is going to happen. No, keep it coming, please. Please, I'm using it all in court. Keep it coming. And it was Valentine's week. I never changed the background. Well, that made Brett mad, thinking I was making a pass at the neighbor. And this is the woman that states that Brett made a pass at her. Okay, so she's claiming Brett made a pass at her, but she wants Brett on the property to do all the work to clean up the property, the mess that she made in the first place. But now she's mad because she put hearts on Valentine's towards Vice Mayor Zim. Seriously, who's the one that's really making a pass, right? The old pole dancer or the campground owner? I'm just saying it the way that I see it. Allegedly, I would say the only one that was potentially making a pass, LIEnette, because nobody's that desperate to come on to LIEnette at all. No, I mean, you even see it in this thing. Crook doesn't even like her. Crook doesn't like women. Wait, this is starting to make sense. LIEnette's not a woman. She's a golem. Crook's into golems. Okay. And I turned, making a pass at the neighbor, and I had turned his advances down long before, and they came to my property, and they were brutal. Brutal now. They're brutal. And they cut down everything about me, and it was horrible, and it scared me to death for another CPS call. So now she's scared to death of another CPS call. You know what? If you're scared of a CPS call, and understand when I say you, that I'm talking about anybody on the other side of the camera, okay? I'm not talking to any individual, and what I mean by that is I'm not talking to LIEnette at all. I'm not making any attempt to contact or talk to LIEnette. As a matter of fact, I want her as far away from me as possible. That's why I'm in Ohio. And I can't get any communication to LIEnette, nor will I ever attempt to, nor do I want to. I'm talking about you on the other end of the camera. If you don't want CPS called on you, take care of your child. Really easy solutions, right? Really easy. It's love. Really easy. Just love. Love. Love, love, love. Oh, and clean. Look how clean and how nice Hale's headquarters is. Huh. Oh, you know if it gets dirty, who's responsible? I am. You know if it gets dirty, who has to clean it? I do. You know who has garbage all the time? Me. From storage units. Yep. Guess what? They are nowhere on the property. They go in the garbage can or the dumpster. And she goes on to say, and they were brutal, and they cut down everything about me. It was horrible, and it scared me to death for another CPS call. And here is where the Hales come in. The Hales were already in Otter Creek well before this. We were stalked by them to Otter Creek. It says, George came to get bread for her animals that I offered her. Now, let's pause right there. LIEnette was always trying to get an in with me, okay? So always trying to get part of the money, trying to get an in with me. And what she would do, and I was foolish, I gave her my phone number because I thought she would be a normal neighbor. And I'm very cautious with my phone number now. I've learned a lot of lessons from this, including spending all the money to actually purchase Hale's headquarters to make sure that nobody can ever stalk me again. Okay, I'm completely and totally secure with gates, with cameras, with property boundaries, the whole deal. All of this came because of LIEnette and Crook. And I would have never, ever purchased Hale's headquarters if this never did happen in my life. So it's a blessing in one regard, and yet at the same time, I could just be living a more simple life in another place at the same time. But I am glad that God blessed me. Now, LIEnette would go get free bread every Monday from the children's table in Bronson. And it's bread for anybody. As a matter of fact, here's the thing that irks me the most, okay? I love what the children's table is doing and serving people. Every Monday, you can go at 8 a.m. and there will be people lined up for a mile. And they will literally wait for hours upon hours upon hours to get free food. What if those individuals actually spent those hours getting a job? Really easy solution. I mean, there are jobs you can do from home. You're going, no, they're handicapped, they have an issue. Listen, there are all kinds of jobs you can do from home. Selling online, you can do from home. Spend the time going and getting a real job and contributing to society. Now, I understand there are people with real needs, and I hope you understand I contribute to that, to those people. I will give back storage units. I will give to food banks. I will give towards community. I will give towards police enforcement. I will give towards camping and kids, and the list goes on and on. But I know vast majority of those individuals that are lined up for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, including LIEnette and Crook, could just go and get a job. Remember, LIEnette was putting in her resume for the clerk. Why isn't she putting in her resume everywhere else? There's tons of things you can do from home. All right, let's keep going on. And so she came to get bread. Well, I should still share this part with you. So the way that LIEnette would try and get in, she would try and give me things that she got for free. Bread for my chickens and my ducks, which I didn't want it anyway. I want them to eat grain. Grain is what makes eggs, not bread. And me being a polite neighbor would just be like, okay, yep. Yeah, it's much easier to just get through it and be like, yeah, I'll come and get your bread. And then we would throw it away because it was rotten, moldy bread. Versus the whole conversation of, listen, stop contacting me. So on this particular incident, I told George, I was like, I cannot listen to that woman one more time. I can't do it. You need to take one for the team and just drive by there and get the stupid bread. And then LIEnette and Crook would leave all kinds of rotten vegetables and bread at our gate. They've never been on our property. I would never allow them on our property. Let me take that back. They've never been on the property legally, okay? And so I would never allow them to be on the property. They would dump all this garbage with all the flies and all the bugs at the gate. It was beyond annoying. I'm glad that has stopped and the text has stopped. But George came to get bread for her animals that I had offered, and I spoke with her about what happened, and she made a comment to me that I had too much on my plate, and maybe I should give up my child. Well, if George did indeed say that, that was probably the wisest counsel this woman had ever received, but she rejected it. And now they're going to be found in the courts attempting to force her to give up her child. You know, the one that Crook has nothing to do with at all.